Dr. Jenny Vaughan, chairs the Doctors Association in UK and is quoted in one of the newspapers today, The Guardian, saying that Mr Hunt is correct in saying the absence of complete commitment provided to the context needs to be addressed. But you have other issues, I understand, Doctor, that perhaps he could have done more. Good morning.
Yes, thanks, Nick. Thanks for having me on the show. Well, yes, Jeremy Hunt did leave the health service for 6 years, and he is concerned about a cover-up culture. But I have to say, it's not a culture that I particularly recognise. It's certainly we've had recent healthcare scandals that we need to give all of our attention to. But what I think the failing here is that the focus seems to be on the covering up of mistakes where death and harm has happened, rather than trying to look at why they might have happened in the first place. Now, the NHS has actually become the first healthcare system in the world to publish numbers of avoidable deaths. And where harm has happened, we often know that that's overwhelmingly related to staff shortages and lack of resources. I think it's far less comfortable for a former health secretary to talk about how his own government has systematically failed to adequately resource the NHS. And also, when he was health secretary, there was a very, very difficult doctor's strike. And during that doctor's strike, many hundreds of doctors actually left this country and either went to Australia or chose different careers. I think that could have been handled in a much more compassionate way, and we are still suffering the effects of that today. So I say yes, have insight. And where I do say that Jeremy Hunt is right is that I actually work with him on a number of things, and that includes the blame culture. He's on the nail there, but that applies across healthcare, not just the NHS. That also applies to the private healthcare system, which seems to have got off here scot-free. And there's a cover-up culture there too. So let's talk about healthcare, and let's talk about the 12 billion additional funding that needs just to keep pace with all the COVID, the fact that we need to catch up after COVID. The healthcare needs 12 billion and then an ongoing 2 billion every year. Where's that money coming from? And it needs to come to the NHS now and its staff.
Doctor, finally and briefly, if you can, as a senior representative of parts of the NHS, how do you think NHS staff will remember the tenure of Jeremy Hunt as Secretary of State for Health? Well,
I don't think it will be with fondness. I don't think it will. But where Jeremy needs to, he does recognise the blame culture, which is something that does need sorting out. But I disagree with him with this complete rogue state analogy.
I'm grateful for your time, Doctor. Jenny Vaughan chairs Doctors Association UK.